Hello again, this is Inside Liverpool. A lot's been made of Mo Salah's drop-off this season. In the last campaign, he scored 29 goals and provided 18 assists in the Premier League. That's 47 goal involvements, a league record for that man. And this graphic shows how Salah was in a league of his own last season. His 47 goal involvements directly led to Liverpool winning a huge 38 points last season, quite literally a league of their own. This is a long way back, and now his teammate Alexander Isak, whose goal contributions helped Newcastle win 21 points, which is almost half of Salah's total. You can see Alexander Isak over here, the next best man in the Premier League compared to Mo Salah. Let's take a look at this season's expected goal involvements for Mo Salah. This is per 90 minutes and excludes penalties. And you can see since his arrival in the Premier League at Liverpool, you can see he's always flirting around an average of 1 goal and assist a game in total. He's always around this line. But this season, you can see where the drop-off is. It's at 0.4 now at the moment. And that's where people are saying, not as effective as he was last season. Important to remember that last season was a Premier League record for goal involvements, quite literally a league of his own. But this is where people are concerned. Can this line go back up or will it head down? But one thing we do know is that Mo Salah is still one of the greatest players that Liverpool have ever had.
Yeah, he is a great player. How do you explain his drop-off in form, though?
I think, again, I'm not a subscriber of the loads of players make it difficult to settle down in general argument, because if you look at Sunderland, I think they're doing pretty well with exactly the same issue. I think for Mo, having watched enough games this season, there's a part where the likes of Ekitike, the likes of Virgil, or the new players coming in, their roles in those attacking parts mean that Mo's almost like sort of sitting back and working out what's going on, and this would have been, I'm sure, in some model for Liverpool expected. The dependency isn't so much on him, so I'm not sure how many touches he's had this season, but possibly the times he does get the ball, then there's a lot more expectation, or I say pressure. I'm not sure if he feels too much pressure personally. And the other thing we have to pay attention to is the fact that the opposition will have been bruised because of the stats of last season and not giving him the time and the opportunities.
So they're playing him differently?
Well, I think it's well documented that the Premier League, especially in Liverpool's case, is considerably different to the way that it looked or the way that they had to play last season. And Mo, being part of that team, is obviously feeling and performing slightly differently.
Yeah, part of the team at the moment, but Liverpool will be forced to play without their talisman soon, of course. He could miss as many as 10 games when he joins up with Egypt for the Africa Cup of Nations next month. Now, if he is called up early by Egypt, he'll miss the Champions League tie at Inter. There are tricky away Premier League games at Spurs and Arsenal, and an FA Cup third-round tie. Well, Jamie Carragher says Salah may well have a fight on his hands to get back into the side when he returns from AFCON.
The Liverpool team have to realise and understand that Mo Salah can't be the Mo Salah of last season every week. That's just not going to happen. There was always going to be a drop-off. He's getting older, and eventually Liverpool will have to cope without Mo Salah. And I'm really interested to see what the manager does when Mo Salah's not there. And is that a real chance to really blood almost an idea of a new team around the new signings who've come in, because it is quite difficult right now to get all your money on the pitch.
And actually we could be in a situation where if Liverpool find form while Mo Salah is away with this plan that Slot comes up with, where does that leave Mo Salah when he comes back? Could we be in a situation where Salah suddenly isn't the main man?
Yeah, and the reason you would go with it is just because the age. You know, you've got to be thinking of the future as well. Mo Salah's the here and now, still the best goal scorer at the club, but when you've brought in Virgil, Ekitike, Isak, you've got to try and make that work, and they're the ones who've got years in front of them and are go on and take this Liverpool team to, greater heights in the future.
Well, we've spoken a lot about potential reasons for Liverpool's underperformance, but let's remember they're the only club who returned to pre-season with grief counsellors. The tragic loss of Diogo Jota has had a profound effect on the club. Let's go back to Anfield and join our reporter Vinny O'Connor with The Athletic's James Pearce. Vinny, they've never used Jota's tragic passing as any sort of excuse, but is there a feeling that his loss is affecting the players?
I think it's an important point to make, Mike, to be honest. We've been speaking about it off camera once again, and earlier today we had a wander down to those floral tributes outside Anfield, which the fans continue to put down. And of course, on 20 minutes in each game, the Diogo Jota song is sung by the Liverpool fans. As a reminder, in the Liverpool dressing room, of course, his space is left empty in the Liverpool dressing room. Every time they go into a game, there is that reminder every week. And I think we got a clear reminder, or at least a clear indication from Andy Robertson after Scotland qualified for the World Cup, just what this squad has been going through. The fact that he was thinking about Diogo Jota on the day of the game, that emotion is still raw for him, just shows you that these guys are going through grief. They are a side that returned to pre-season in the knowledge that Diogo Jota was not going to be joining them. They had to pick themselves up. They went to, obviously, Diogo Jota's funeral. There was memorials, lots of tributes to Diogo Jota. And at some point, of course, that tails off. But then there's that stark reminder that he's never coming back. And it's very difficult. Grief obviously affects people in very many different ways. And there'll be fluctuations in mood throughout that. And obviously, this squad is going through that. On top of it, of course, there are new signings who came in expecting to be joining a dressing room that was full of champions, full of winners, and maybe still enjoying that kind of feeling of being champions. But instead, it was a dressing room racked with grief, and it's been a difficult period for all concerned with the club, James, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's impossible to quantify, isn't it? Just to that. How do you even go about kind of trying to work out how much of an impact that is? It's inevitable, isn't it? That it's, with the news cycle and modern football, everyone, you move on and all the rest of it. But it's only 4.5 months, which anyone that's ever suffered any loss and dealt with grief, that's nothing really in terms of, and Diogo was such a popular figure. They've lost one of their best friends as well as a teammate and a popular figure. They've lost one of their best friends as well as a teammate and a colleague. So yeah, and I think the Andy Robertson's interview after the Scotland game the other night just underlined that. The raw emotion that in a moment of what essentially joy for Scotland, him being the man leading Scotland as captain to their first World Cup in 28 years, all his thoughts were with his best mate and saying, I couldn't get out of my head all day. He said he thought back to all the conversations they'd had because that was both of their dream to get to the World Cup in North America, and of course only one of them is still around to realise that.
And he was much loved. I mean, those of us who dealt with him thought he was just an amazing person. He was lovely to speak to, lovely to interview, and he was one who would hang around for a bit of a chat. I remember him dropping hints to me for my lad about PlayStation cheats for my son because he was such a gamer as well. And when Trent Alexander-Arnold came and laid that wreath here, I think it was a reminder that Diogo Jota was a big gamer himself. He was much loved by the fans here, of course, and we mentioned the fact that they sing the song still on 20 minutes, and much love by the players and on a slot. I'd imagine for the manager it's been extremely difficult just pulling everything back together once again when he himself is going through grief as well as his players.
Yeah, and of course it's nothing you can ever prepare for it. When Arne Slot, doing his coaching badges and coming to Liverpool, not in his worst nightmares would he ever have envisaged having to deal with something like that. And I know, for the hierarchy of the club, the way in which he stepped up, he was already, of course, held in high esteem because what he'd done as a manager with masterminding that title triumph and exceeding all expectations. But the leadership he showed during such a difficult period and almost having to park his own grief because he was having to deal with so many other players, and how do you even go about trying to get a semblance of normality? And everyone will remember those poignant scenes at Preston for the first pre-season friendly where just getting back out onto a football pitch again just seemed like a huge step in itself. So yeah, it's very much an ongoing process because, as you said, grief affects different people in different ways. You only have to look at match days at the minute with Lee Richardson, the club psychologist, is a lot more visible than previously because he's there as a resource for the players to turn to as and when they need him.
I think that maybe we've tried to treat Liverpool as a normal case throughout the season in terms of their form. There was that reminder at the start of the season when Mo Salah scored and did the Diogo Jota celebration, just how hard hit they've been by the news about Diogo Jota.
Yeah, we hear you. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, is Liverpool's title defence gone? We're going to discuss that next inside Liverpool. See you in a moment.